Nyika zvinofadza mweya yedu kutsvaga musha unouya. Tina musha, tina musha, atifari kuba pano zvinofadza mweya yedu kutsvaga musha unouya. Atina mushaba, atina mushaba, tinoda musha, isu tinoda musha, sitarawo, iziyo unopenya. Usha wachu, usha wachu, usere runyara, bambi, vachazorora,
Today's topic is ZANU PF is kickstarting pre-election violence that will surely backfire. The brutal and barbaric ritual murder by ZANU PF thugs of Triple C civil rights activist Mo Blessing Ali, whose chopped remains were found in a well, and the subsequent arrest of Triple C National Chairman Job Sikala, all point to one undeniable fact. And just as predicted, ZANU PF's ritual of engaging in pre-election violence has now intensified. In less than 1 year, the 2023 general elections will be held. Hopefully, that is because both Mnangagwa and his ZANU-lite Mwonzora have been talking about postponing elections for 7 years. The assault by ZANU PF thugs on Triple C members who had gathered to mourn human rights activist Mo Blessing signaled ZANU PF insatiable obsession with violence. ZANU PF has always been and will always be a party of violence. The most disturbing sight was how Triple C Job Sikala described the state of More Blessing's body, which was discovered in a well. According to Sikala, More Blessing's body had been cut into 2 pieces and chopped arms and legs. Her intestines were packed in a plastic bag. In a tweet, Sikala said, "Seeing the body of More Blessing Ali chopped into pieces today at the mortuary has raised my desire to push out this evil for good. Pictures of her chopped body are not possible to share," Job Sikala tweeted. Makumbo akadamburwa from the body sezvinoitwa emombe kana yaurawa. Her legs had been chopped off from the body, just like a cow that has been killed. For standing up against ZANU PF murderers and hooliganism, Sikala was arrested. Police said charges on Sikala was he incited a riot. So was Chitungwiza North MP Godfrey Sitole for Triple C. He also was arrested. Police descended heavily on Triple C supporters who were demonstrating against ZANU PF thugs. ZANU PF thugs were harassing and assaulting mourners who had gathered at More Blessing's home to pay their respects. Triple C members were retaliating against ZANU PF violence. ZANU PF thug Pius Jamba, who abducted and murdered More Blessing, was not arrested. Police said they were looking for him, but he was and is in the public sight. He recently was sighted at Karoi. ZANU PF thugs who went on a violent spree against Triple C supporters were also not arrested. This selective application of the law by the police is now well known. It happened at a Triple C rally in Kwekwe in February. A mob armed with stones, iron bars, machetes, and spears attacked a Triple C rally in Kwekwe, killing at least 1 person and injuring 17 others. Vice President Constantino Chiwenga had told a rally that Triple C would be crushed like what he called the lice. But police did not arrest Chiwenga for inciting a riot. The ZANU PF thug who killed the Triple C member Mboneni Ncube of Mbizo and who was part of the Triple C supporters at the party's Midlands provincial by-election campaign rally was well known. Police had been given his name. They said they were looking for him. Information about his whereabouts was given to the police, but the police did absolutely nothing. Mboneni Ncube was stabbed to death using a spear by a ZANU PF supporter at the Triple C rally in Kwekwe. Dozens of Triple C members were injured at an incident allegedly orchestrated by sacked former State Security Minister Owen Mudan Ncube. The murderers were seen at Ncube's house, but Owen Mudan Ncube was not arrested. Why the double standards in the application of the law? According to a leak, police are specifically prohibited from arresting or interfering with operations or activities linked to ZANU PF or individuals operating under direct or indirect authority of ZANU PF. This sometimes frustrates the police, who are professionally and legally required to arrest people engaged in criminal activity. ZANU PF has traditionally had two main objectives or motives for inflicting violence on innocent Zimbabweans. There is a third motive, which ZANU PF does not want to talk about, but that motive will be revealed here. The first motive by ZANU is to intimidate civilians into voting for the party's presidential and parliamentary candidates. ZANU PF thugs have forcibly gathered rural people to threaten them that they have the technological means to see whom they have voted for. And according to ZANU PF thugs, if the rural people do not vote for ZANU PF, the thugs will come after those rural people in their homes and kill them. The thugs have frightened the villagers by saying, "Tiri ZANU yeropa, tine zvombo zvedu, nyika iyi yakasunungurwa neropa, inotongwa neZANU PF chete. We are a party of blood. We have weapons. This country was liberated through the blood of the freedom fighters and can only be ruled by ZANU and no one else." At those meetings, the ZANU PF thugs show off the guns to the villagers. The second motive in ZANU's insatiable thirst for violence is to undermine the opposition CCC from campaigning, especially in rural areas. ZANU PF thugs will go to the villages and threaten them with death if they attend CCC rallies. To show that they mean it, ZANU PF thugs will abduct, torture, or even kill anyone found to have attended a CCC rally. Since 2000, ZANU PF has used this two-pronged strategy of violence to unleash a reign of terror on innocent Zimbabweans. The third motivation, which ZANU PF does not want to talk about, explains why Mo Blessing Ali was murdered and chopped in this grisly manner that she died. According to former ZANU PF officials who are now dead, ZANU PF was told by witch doctors and medicine men at the beginning of independence that ZANU PF needs human blood every year in order to stay in power. Ridiculous and incredible as this might sound, this revelation was also made by a young member of the so-called Green Bombers who terrorized rural people into voting for ZANU PF in 2003-2004. This young man said when they were being trained as green bombers in torture techniques which they used on civilians. They were told about this ritual killing. Whenever they were sent out on a ritual killing assignment, they were supposed to bring some body parts of their victims back to their superiors. The young man made these revelations after he subsequently suffered nightmares and trauma to the extent that he had to flee the country. Police take virtually no action against the forces, widely known as green bombers, for the color of their military-style uniforms and for their reputation for violence. The young men revealed that in addition to being trained, they were given, being trained to kill, they were given drugs to numb them when they went on killing assignments. The young men said, in addition to the meager pay they received, they were told they can rape any woman they saw and they would not be arrested or charged with rape. The most jarring revelation was they would be given names of people belonging to MDCT led by Trangirai to kill and bring back parts of their bodies. This is the kind of ritual killing that was inflicted on Mo Blessing Ali. In order to maintain an iron grip on Zimbabweans, ZANU PF has captured the Zimbabwean state system. All the agencies of the state and ministries are under the control of ZANU PF. The party's structure of governing the country puts ZANU PF above the Zimbabwean government. For example, the ZANU PF Secretary for Defense is above the Government Minister for Defense. The ZANU PF Secretary for Information, in this case Chris Mutsvangwa, is above, no pun intended here, the Minister of Information, Monica Mutsvangwa, who also happens to be his wife. This same kind of structure applies to all other ministries. But the ZANU PF administrative hierarchy is based on the army as the supreme organ. The army is the final authority in Zimbabwe. In its civilian control of the state and party, the army constitutes what is known as the Joint Operations Command, or JOC. The Joint Operations Command, or JOC, was established by the Rhodesian Security Forces as combined operations headquarters to supervise its counter-insurgency campaign in the Rhodesia Bush War, as well as external incursion into neighboring countries such as Zambia and Mozambique. But with the coming of independence, Mugabe upgraded JOC to the executive control of Zimbabwe. In short, Zimbabwe has been a militarized state since independence. The JOC retained its role in the post-independent Zimbabwe Defense Forces and has since been accused of manipulating elections and orchestrating political violence. Jock has also been accused of organizing repression campaigns against both opposition partisans and civilians. It has been claimed that in the wake of the Zimbabwean presidential election, Jock de facto took over control of the day-to-day decision-making of government, effectively operating as a military junta. Jock has also been implicated in the violent suppression of opposition supporters between the March elections and the runoff in July of 2008. It would not be a surprise if the ritual murder of Mo Blessing was orchestrated under the orders of Jock. Members of Jock, that is the Joint Operations Command in Zimbabwe, include the Minister of Defense, the Commander of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, the Commander of the Zimbabwe National Army, the Commander of the Air Force of Zimbabwe, the Commissioner of the Zimbabwe Republic Police, the head of the Zimbabwe Prison Service, the Director General of the Central Intelligence Organization, and the Governor of the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. Those are the members of the Joint Operations Command. The Army has traditionally been viewed as an extension and outgrowth of ZANLA, the military wing of ZANU PF during the liberation struggle. ZANU PF does not fear the outcome of elections. If they lose, ZANU PF knows the army will intervene to keep ZANU PF in power. This happened in the elections of 2008, where MDCT, led by Tsvangirai, won both presidential and parliamentary elections. But the army intervened to keep Mugabe in power. Police are also a captured agency of ZANU PF. The police take orders from ZANU PF. For example, no ZANU PF thugs can be arrested, even when they are caught engaging on politically motivated violence. And when police arrest any ZANU PF thugs, this is just to mislead the world into thinking there is rule of law in Zimbabwe. The so-called ZANU PF prisoners will not spend any time in jail. This has been shown numerous times this year. One of the worst acts of violence by ZANU PF on MDCT led by Tsvangirai was in the 2008 elections. Gangs of ZANU PF hooligans brutalized MDCT supporters, sometimes in front of the police who did absolutely nothing to stop the assaults. Tsvangirai and his top officials went to church to pray, but they were arrested and heavily assaulted in police cells. The world saw pictures of heavily injured Tsvangirai and Maduku being released from jail following massive international pressure. When Mugabe was asked about it, he replied, "Well, they were assaulted because they refused to obey orders from the police. When police tell you to move, you must move," he boasted. One may ask at this point, if ZANU PF is confident of being kept in power indefinitely by the army and the captured state, Why is ZANU PF panicking and fearful that Triple C President Chamisa will win next year's elections? What if Chamisa wins? Should ZANU PF worry? Now that its continued rule is not based on the outcome of the elections, but is based on guaranteed protection from the army. So what's all this fuss about? There are several reasons why ZANU is panicking and why ZANU must panic. ZANU PF's habit of harassing, brutalizing, torturing, and killing innocent civilians is now meeting new formidable challenges and reaction from the citizens. The vast majority of Zimbabweans, more than 70% of Zimbabweans, are below the age of 40, and they are called the born frees. They do not relate to or resonate with the liberation struggles claimed by ZANU PF. They are more interested in their socio-economic status today. To repeat, more than 70% of Zimbabweans are born frees and they don't care a hoot about ZANU PF's armed liberation struggle. They are more interested in their own socio-economic status today. And that is what is making ZANU to panic. Most of these young people are unemployed. ZANU PF has no plan to improve their lives because ZANU PF is now a primitive mafia diesel Pachinoi organization. There is also a growing internal resistance within ZANU PF. Old guard ZANU PF officers who may or may not have participated in the liberation struggle are now retiring or just dying off. Two of these generals died within 1 week a few days ago. The newly promoted army officers are a different demographic breed. The biggest cause of ZANU PF's panic is that the army, civil service, and police are all dissatisfied with what they are being paid. Let's look at the salaries of civil service, the army, the police. The latest salary slip for a teacher is 30,000 Zimbabwean dollars or just 54 US dollars. That of a police officer is 35,000 US dollars or just 63 US dollars per month. For the nurse, it's $32,000 or just 58 US dollars per month. For the polytechnic lecturer, is 30,000 Zimbabwe dollars or just 54 US dollars. For the student teacher is 22,000 Zimbabwean dollars or 40 US dollars. For the soldier, listen to this now. A Zimbabwean soldier earns 37,000 Zimbabwe dollars, which is 67 US dollars. The prosecutor earns 42,000 Zimbabwean dollars, which is 76 US dollars. A Zimbabwean magistrate earns 45,000 Zimbabwe dollars, which is 81 US dollars. This is the most important cause for ZANU PF panicking. Looking at these salaries, it is understandable why the army, the police, CIO, and the civil service have all told Triple C on numerous occasions that they too are yellow. And when Chamisa told a gathering of mourners at More Blessings' home, Chamisa minced no words when he said the Mnangagwa regime and the ZANU PF government have now reached the dead end. Chamisa encouraged Triple C supporters not to engage in violence, but to remain peaceful. But his words had the undercurrent of what he has always been saying, namely, yes, Triple C is committed to a peaceful transfer, a peaceful campaign for power. But if Triple C engages in violent demonstrations, the entire nation will arise against ZANU PF. Here is something else that is making ZANU PF scared, panicky. In addition, another cause for ZANU panicking. Young women in Zimbabwe are now playing leading roles in the struggle for liberation from the Dizzy Pachinoi gang. This involvement by women is characteristic of previous mass demonstrations against brutal regimes in Africa. In Egypt, a young 27-year-old woman activist, Asma Mahfouz, posted a video on the internet urging Egyptians to protest the regime of Hosni Mubarak in Tahrir Square on 25 January 2011. Her video went viral, and on 25 January, protests drew large crowds that set off the 2011 Egyptian revolution. In Sudan, women were seen marching ahead of thousands of demonstrators against the dictator Bashir. A female protester, standing on the roof of a car, pointed defiantly towards President Bashir's office. And that picture became the defining image of the Sudan's uprising. There is an old Shona saying, Ndashaya anditi tokonyo, ndione matambiro. I am waiting. I can't find anyone to slightly provoke me so I can play. In Zulu, they say, Bamtinta wakukumala. A very slight touch, and he exploded into wild, unimaginable fury. This looks like that is what ZANU PF is itching for, given its tradition of violence. But ZANU's application of violence against human rights activists is now backfiring. The new Zimbabwean generation is now responding with defiance. For example, Zimbabwe's emerging youthful singer, Sisi Sibo, has a very powerful revolutionary song of defiance against Tongombea Scarfmen and the ZANU PF Diziri Bachinoi team. Sisi Sibo joins revolutionary musicians like Paul Madzore, Kusman, and so on. Young and talented musicians and poets are arising and adding their artistic talent to the national mass uprising that is now rumbling like a distant volcano in Zimbabwe. This latest 30-year-old musician, Sisi Sibo, comes from Midlands. She leads a band called the Tinosfika Chete Crew, as a message of a name of defiance. Her songs are going viral on the social media. Her message is clear. Chamisa, lead Zimbabwe. We will get there. Here is an extract from Sisi Sibo's songs. Mbereko inewe Chamisa. You, Chamisa, have the leadership reins. Tirimu Hondo, Chamisa, Tirimu Hondo. We are now at war. We are now on our final Chimurenga. Tirimunzira izere nengwena baba tiyambutse Chamisa. We are in the battlefield full of crocodiles. Lead us to victory, Chamisa. Chekubata hatina. Iwo vanodya muhotera. We are starving. Zimbabweans are impoverished. Yet the ZANU PF mafia eat lavish meals in hotels. Tibereke Chamisa tiyambuke. Lead us, Chamisa, so we can cross over to victory. This is a very powerful song of defiance coming from a young Zimbabwean lady who is joining an entire chorus of revolutionaries, just like in Egypt, just like in Sudan, where women have played a very powerful role. And in Zimbabwe, the winds of change in form of defiance by Triple C supporters are now beginning to blow more strongly. The momentum for a revolution without necessarily waiting for elections is increasing in direct proportion to intensified ZANU PF violence against innocent civilians. And that exactly is what is scaring ZANU PF.
This concludes today's broadcast of Letter from America, a weekly in-depth analysis of the situation in Zimbabwe. Thank you for listening. This concludes today's broadcast of Letter from America, a weekly in-depth analysis of the situation in Zimbabwe. Thank you for listening.
Atina musha pano panyika zvinofadza mweya yedu kutsvaga musha nuya. Tina musha, Tina musha, Atifa, Uba, Bano, Shinofa, Mweya, Shakamu, Shauno, Shakamu, Shauno, Tina mushaba, Tina mushaba, Chino na musha, Isu Tina na musha, Sitara, Izio, Uno peña, Usha wachu, Usere runyara, Bambi, Bachazorora, Achaita,